Welcome to the Steel Birds podcast, starring your hosts, Corey King and Harry Brockington the fourth, a.k.a. Brock. What's up, man?
What's good? What's good?
How goes it?
Man, it's another day. Waiting for
Yeah,
these OTAs and all this other stuff that's taking forever.
yeah. That's good. That's the streets want to know about your dog. Rumor has it you got a new dog.
Yeah, I got me a little corgi. His name is Jack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jack.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're big Disney heads, Marvel heads, nerds over here.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
shout out to the Incredibles.
yeah. Right.
Yeah. But shit, yeah. So today we are going to, the schedule released this week, and we're just going to run through, our thoughts on the Eagles and Steelers schedules, and then kind of look back at our over under win totals that we picked last week and see if we want to make any changes now that the schedule's out. Because some teams like the Steelers kind of got screwed with their scheduling, and other teams benefited. So, we'll talk about that, and then just kind of from there, basically pick our division winners for the year, and then wrap this thing up with grind our gears. So, if you're ready, you wanna kick us off with your thoughts on the Steelers schedule and how that all played out.
Yeah. Man, so I guess the first for the Steelers, at least the first time since the merger in 1970, it's never been where a divisional, rival was played at the end of the season the way that they, have it for us. So we don't play someone in our division until week 11, and that'll be the Ravens, I believe. And so then it's just a stretch of, the Browns twice, then the Bengals, then we play, y'all play the Eagles, and we'll play the Chiefs on Christmas, and then we'll end the season with the Bengals. And so just obviously on Twitter, big uproar for the fans and even a lot of the analysts and journalists covering the Steelers and thinking it's unfair because as I said, hasn't been scheduled that way since 1970. And no other team in the league except for the Bears has that for a current schedule. And so it's obviously going to be tough. But in my opinion, with it still being at 7.5, regardless of that gauntlet at the end, that's just too low for me. Even if it ends up being 9, I still gonna stay. And
we had it at 8.5 on our sheet. So
right, but it's at 7. Yeah, I was seeing a lot that it's at 7. So either if it's 7 or if it's 8, but that is just way too low in my opinion because we had 10 wins with Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mr. Trubisky.
Very true.
We had Minka on a down year where he was injured, but we just were kind of funneling in, whatever safety, trying to grab safeties and, that were free agents. And so, Cam was injured as well. He was able to come back and kind of do a little bit, but this was a year where we had TJ the whole year, but then, we lose Minka and Cam. And then the quarterback play that we had, we didn't fire Matt Canada till, mid-season. So with all that happening on us still having 10 wins, and we had, obviously not as hard a schedule as we're going to have this season, but we had a decently hard schedule. There's just no way we go under that 7 mark for me. So I'm going to keep what I believe is going to be over, and we're going to, still make the playoffs. But I think it's going to be really crucial for us to win those beginning games. And specifically, I think we need to go into our bye. Our bye week is week 9. We need to go into the bye at least 6-2, 7-1. Because if we lose any of the gimme games, that's where it can get kind of close at the end, which you don't want, especially if injuries come up again. You're not hoping for enemies or, opponents to have injuries or anything like that. But if that happens, you hope that you can keep your squad healthy so that, you're not worried about that if you mess up in the beginning of the season. And so you see a lot of people say, oh, the playoffs are not won in the beginning of the season. And I disagree with that because at the end of the season, if you just needed 2 games and those are 2 games that you just lost in September, then that kind of does matter, So that's my opinion on that.
I don't to that last point, I don't like that either because I don't have it up right now. I could look it up at a later date. But I'm pretty sure like teams that start like 0-3 or something, like it's like maybe 10% of those teams make the playoffs like
Yeah,
all time. It's like if you're not at least 2-1 or something, or 1-2, or something like that to start
right.
the year, like it is so hard to make the playoffs. So
No, I
yeah,
do remember that.
that's
Whenever a team is playing and they are 0-3, they always say that during the broadcast.
yeah,
I remember that they
yeah,
always say, "Well, you know that teams who are starting." So yeah, you're right. And so
yeah,
I've seen a lot of people comment that under why are Steelers fans worried about the end of the season? The end or worried about winning in the beginning because they're so worried about the gauntlet at the end of the season because the playoffs are not won at the beginning of the season. I'm like, man, I mean, that's kind of how I know you're really a ball knower, as people are saying now, is because at the end of the day,
uh,
if you got a 3 stretch losing streak in September, October, you better be damn sure that that's gonna matter when it comes to January. Because if you win
right,
even one of those games, that puts you ahead of maybe somebody else, or gives you home field advantage. You don't know what it's going to be at the end, and so for me, that's what I really feel like the Steelers have to have going into that bye is 1 or 2 losses at the most, and can see what they can do going into that gauntlet at the end.
yeah. Let me I can pull it up real quick. Hold on. It is, yeah. So I don't know how many teams. Quickly, I just looked up. I don't know how many teams made the playoffs that started 0-3. I mean, that did not make the playoffs. I'm sure there's a lot, like thousands of teams or hundreds of
Yeah,
teams.
right.
But of the teams that started 0-3 and made the playoffs, there have been 6, and the last team to do it was the 2018 Houston Texans. So it's been a long time, and there's only been 6 teams all time to make the playoffs after starting
Right.
0-3. So
So
yeah,
there you go.
so to your point, you gotta start off with at least a
Ah,
win. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Um, but yeah, the Eagles' schedule, on the other hand, is pretty favorable. We're not. Last year we had like a gauntlet where we had to play the Dolphins, then the Chiefs, and then the Bills, like back to back to back.
right.
Um, there's no like true gauntlet like that. The only thing that I didn't love for the Eagles was the buys week 5, which is pretty early. So
So
if if we're not banged up or anything, I don't like when buys are that early. You want your buys to time up with with your injuries, ideally, like later in the season. But to that point though, our first game of the year is in Brazil. Then we have a Monday night game right after that, and then we have to go to New Orleans and to Tampa. So those are kind of long trips, further journeys for those
yeah,
games. And a bye after that, isn't terrible after
yeah.
all that traveling to start the year.
That's a good
But
point. Time travel is a lot, but people don't put it into perspective. I did see, even though we do
yeah,
have the hardest schedule, that we only are traveling 12,000 miles, which is pretty cool because I know there's like a top 5 teams that are traveling almost 30 miles. I know the
hmm
Niners are one of those teams, and so that's a lot. Like to your point that that people don't put into perspective for players that are jet lagged or just not really in it because they're doing so much traveling. So
yeah, exactly. And they're starting off in Brazil, and then the next week is the only Monday night game we have. It's cool. Get those out the way, those kind of off schedule games versus those like Thursdays. I think we have some ones later on Thursday. But that week 4 game is 1 o'clock at or 1 o'clock Eastern at Tampa. So like that's gonna be like 100 degrees on the field.
yeah, it's
Like
gonna be
those
humid.
aren't those aren't gimme games. So a bye after that isn't gonna be terrible. So um, overall I believe, based on like Warren Sharp's strength of schedule, and other people do like based on Super Bowl contenders you're playing, kind of they rank pretty well in strength of schedule. And I think our over is it's only 10.5, so I'm not too worried about that. I think we should be good there to get that over. And I like our schedule. And to that point, actually, me and Brock are kind of talking about it off air. We may just try and pull up to that week 15 Eagles Steelers game just for the cause.
Right,
Since it's
right.
our year, we started the podcast. We're both turning
Yeah.
30 that
Yeah.
week.
I'll be
We
30
might
two
have
days
to,
before that. You'll be 30 on
yeah,
that day. So
so we might have to do the thing, but yeah,
yeah.
we'll get there when we get there.
Right.
But yeah, so that's all I got. You got any questions about our schedule? You think anything stood out to you when you peeped it, or?
No, I think y'all had everybody had a better schedule set up than us, so I'm not going to give any sympathy
Right.
towards anybody. I'm sorry, other than the Bears, I guess, because I mean they're going in with a rookie. We at least, regardless, are going to have Russ, who's a veteran, and then Justin. He showed has game experience. So I'll
Yeah.
give a little bit of leeway to the Bears because they're going to have to do all that with a rookie. And Caleb obviously is talented, but he's going to have his hiccups, and that's probably not the best way for your first year to be that. But as far as y'all, you got a seasoned team. You know what I mean? So
Right.
y'all can do it. Y'all can get it done. I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, man, it's just it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. I think obviously for both of our teams, how much the rookies can contribute. For us specifically, who is it going to be? Is it going to be Russ or Justin? Is it going to be a true QB battle? Is Tom going to learn from his mistakes? Is he really going to, if Justin shows that he's better, is he going to allow him to play? And I don't think he can make the same mistake that he did before
Yeah.
with Kenny and Mitch and that type of thing, especially with losing the team and having the fans act the way they did with the Matt Canada thing. So I'm kind of glad that all those things did happen. I feel like it's kind of a blessing in disguise, especially for what you just said for this year in particular, with the schedule being so hard. I don't think he can play around and kind of do the steer away or
Yeah.
be,
I agree.
how he is, kind of where he wants to do it his way. Like, you know what, man, just do what's best for the situation. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. I saw your boy Colin Cowherd was talking about y'all and was saying like Justin Fields is looking at the schedule like I'm gonna play like that rough stretch you guys have after week 11.
Right.
If Russ isn't playing up to the standard that you guys have, you gotta expect he's gonna
Right.
get out there and do his. So
I'm just worried
yeah.
about the first, like, to that specifically, our first game is at Atlanta, and obviously Arthur Smith was their head coach. So that's kind of, they're already talking about the revenge game there, but that is kind of towards our favor because even though they have a new coaching staff, he obviously knows their personnel and kind of what they would, want to do with Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Bijan and all that stuff, even though people say like he didn't do it the right way, So whatever with that. But then obviously week 2, we're at Denver. And so people are saying, well, Sean is going to want to stick it to Russ or whatever, and Russ is going to want to. But it's like, what if Justin at that point has outplayed him? Like, I don't want Russ playing just because Mike
Yeah, the
Tomlin feels
narrative.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know what, buddy, I want you. I saw how he treated you on the sidelines. I want you to forget all of that. I don't care about
Yeah.
any of that. If Justin already has beaten him out at that point, forget about it, dog. So that's kind of what I mean about, we have this steal away where we want to find people's cousins and people's uncles whose coach would talk. Like, we've got to stop that and just do what is best for the franchise. So I don't care about that with Russ. I'm sorry. If he beats out Justin outright, cool. But otherwise, man, put that boy in there and then let him do what he needs to do because we can't play around this year
No
at
doubt.
all.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yep. Okay, bet. Let's transition then into our team over unders and see, if there's anyone we want to flip on.
Definitely.
All right. I'll start us off.
Cool.
The first team that I think I'm gonna flip on is the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
I originally went over with them. But 10.5, I feel like it's kind of a lot. They didn't improve much this offseason, didn't make a lot of moves.
Fair
And,
point.
I feel like if it was any other team, they wouldn't have gotten 10.5 as their over. And their schedule isn't too favorable. Based on Warren Sharps, they rank 22nd in strength of schedule. So
Okay.
pretty tough for them. And I just don't believe in the coach, and the QB situation is in a weird spot because
Yeah.
they feel like they might pay him, but they might not, and he might walk. And I feel like all that drama and just
Yeah.
lack of control over there is just going to blow up in their face, and they might just just have a really bad year.
Implode type
So
thing.
yeah, and I would love to see it. So I'm
Oh,
a,
of course, of course, of
I'm
course you would.
I'm a yeah I'm a switch on that. Um, and yeah, you got one, you wanna flip on?
I can see your point on that. I still just believe just because they've had like 12 wins the past whatever how many years,
Yeah,
but I
3
do
years
agree
in a
with
row, I
you.
think, or two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
3 or 4 years in a row.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
no, I do agree with you. Free agency was very, dull and boring. The draft they did whatever so, and they've come out and Jerry's come out and said Jerry Jones and said that he they're all in whatever, and like that's always like what they obviously call coach speak, whatever, owner speak, whatever you want to
yeah,
say it is. But it's like even if you didn't want them to believe it was that, you didn't prove them wrong because, like you just said, it wasn't anything crazy. But I think they'll still sneak by and just do what they usually do, which is, lose early, in the playoffs. So I'm going to keep mine for
yeah.
that. But I am going to change my Bears. One, they're at 8.5, and I had over. We both had over, and I had that opinion just because, obviously, as we talked about before, having a special type of rookie situation in Caleb where he is, we're just gonna be real. So he's better than most rookies, ready to play more than most rookies. And then he comes into a situation where he is more comfortable than most rookies with the weapons that they've given him, his offensive line, the defense. That Bears defense is very decent. And so that's kind of was my thought process on it, where they can get to that 9-win mark, 10-win mark, and regardless of what happens after that, they can get over the 8.5. But I'm going to switch that now because they're actually in a situation very similar to the Steelers, where they're not. Actually, it's the exact situation. I'll say they're not playing a divisional rival until week 11, which is exactly when we would start
Right.
playing our rivals. And so they have Green Bay that week, Vikings, Lions, Niners,
Yeah,
Vikings, Lions, and then the Seahawks, and then ending with Green Bay. So
yeah.
I'm
That's
gonna.
tough
That's
for
really
any
tough
team.
for
Yeah,
any team, bro, and
yeah,
but especially a rookie. But I'm gonna say they're gonna lose that Green Bay game. If Jordan Love is gonna be anything like he was, and even let's say he has a slow start, week 11, he should be very comfortable back to whatever he was playing last year. If he has a
yeah,
bad start, the Vikings one, I'll say they'll probably split because if JJ McCarthy or Sam Darnold, that's I mean, you know my opinions on both
yeah.
those guys, so they could probably split both of
Right.
those. The Lions they're gonna lose. The Niners are gonna lose. I think they're gonna lose to the Lions again. The Seahawks could be like a scrappy game. You don't know what happens there. But even if they win it, I say they come out of that with maybe 2 wins, and that's not 2 to 3 wins, and that's not going to be enough to probably get them over that hump, especially if they have lost any games at the beginning of their schedule. Now, the beginning of their schedule, just like ours, is a little bit more favorable. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely going to change that because I just feel like with the defenses they're going to be facing, and just late in the season, Caleb being a rookie, yeah, I don't think it's going to be enough. And so I'm gonna say they have like 6 or 7 wins.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get that logic for sure. Yeah, that's a tough way to end
And
this second half of your
yeah,
season. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I just feel like the beginning is good enough for them to be at least 5-2,
agreed.
if not better.
Yeah, I think
Um.
they only lose to
So
CJ Texans week 2, and then maybe if Trevor, you would hope, the prince that's promised,
yeah.
you would hope that they get that together because that's going to look really bad on the Jags organization. I'll say
Yeah.
that if a rookie beats them and a rejuvenated team beats them when they're supposed to already kind of be established with that quarterback, with their coach. That's a bad loss for the Jags. So I would
Yeah.
say, just like you just said, 1 or 2 losses would be either the Texans or the Jags, but the rest of that schedule is kind of doable. Maybe the Rams,
Yeah, I was gonna say the Rams, but
the
yeah, the
Rams,
Jags too could be them maybe, but
yeah.
yeah.
So just like
Yeah.
that, yeah. So that could be bad for them too going into their bye week. Their bye week is week 7. So yeah, I'm definitely thinking that it could possibly be under for them.
Yeah. That's fair. I'm a stick with the over, but I totally get where you're coming from with that. Um, the next team that I think I'm gonna flip on is the Falcons. I think. Wait, let me flip your pick on our sheet here. Yeah. So the Falcons. Overall they have the easiest schedule in the league, but after week 4 especially it's very easy for them, and they're only at 9.5. Their division is weak,
Yeah.
and I think they could get to 10, especially towards the end of the year. Like, they're playing the Raiders, the Vikings, like you said. We don't know who their QB is going to be. The Broncos, I don't think they're going to be anything special this year, so I think they can really finish the year strong. They end with the Panthers. Like, that should be they should sweep the Panthers. So
So did you have under for them? Did you already switch it on there? Is that what I'm seeing?
yeah, I had it
Okay.
under 9.5 originally, but I'm gonna go over now because
Okay.
I
Okay.
think after they might start, in theory, honestly, they start with y'all. They might be one of those teams that go 0-3 and then and then make the playoffs in theory, because they got
Right.
Steelers, Eagles, Chiefs to start off, or
Yeah.
maybe they beat one of those teams. But either way, I think they can still get to 10 wins. And rejuvenated offense, Kirk Cousins running the show. If not, even if he gets banged up or something, Michael Penix can step up in there and do his thing. And
Yeah.
new head coach who I'm rooting for and think will have some success
Right.
with Raheem Morris. So yeah, I think 10 wins. If not, I mean, they might not get to 10, maybe 9, but I think they'll be right around that win total. So I'm gonna go over on that.
Okay, I can understand that too. I think I'm gonna stick with my under. I think they're gonna have right around there, even though with the easier schedule. I just think first year they might not have the you know Texans type of success, and Texans just had a lot of picks in that previous draft that set them up, and a lot of those picks hit. Will Anderson and CJ hit, and I don't know. I mean, one of their first picks might not even play, and
Yeah,
Michael Penix, and then their second pick was kind of a reach in my opinion, which was Ruka Roro from Clemson. A lot of people were like, what in the world? Because there's a lot of great D tackles still on the board. I think
there
Johnny
were.
Newton was still on
Yeah,
the board, and the
he
Commanders ended up
was.
taking
Yep.
him. Yeah, so we don't even know what that's going to be, and so the rest of their picks were kind of just so. So that, in my opinion, I'm just like, yeah, they might get it together in the coming years, and it might be their division to take over. But for the first year, I'm gonna stick with that under.
Yeah. And then do you have another team, or because I got one more and then that's
Yeah.
it for me.
No, man. I was trying to find one maybe that the schedule completely changes my mind, but I think the Bears one is the only one that completely I'm just like, no, it just doesn't make sense. Um, you know what? You know what? No. Okay. I see one here maybe. Um, the Vikings. 6.5.
Mm,
You went under, I went over. I'm gonna change it to under like you have it because
okay.
um to the point with the Bears, even if they do have, the under season and they don't make the playoffs, whatever, I feel like the Bears are gonna be at the worst, the third best in that division. There's no way the Vikings are compete if that does happen, there's no way that the Vikings are competing with the Packers and the Lions, barring 6, 7, 8+ players getting injured for both those teams.
Right.
So I love uh, Flores there running that defense, and I am starting to like Kevin O'Connell a lot for the head coach, but I'm not sold whatsoever at the QB position. You know how I feel about that. Do not like JJ McCarthy right now as a prospect coming out. Don't feel like he showed enough to really be that guy. I feel like he was really sheltered in that Michigan offense, being having it be very run heavy. And then Sam Darnold is a very unproven journeyman, unlike guys like Jacoby Brissett and Ryan Tannehill, a guy that kind of carved out a starting role for himself afterwards. So I don't think it's the same type of situation. So I actually am going to go under for that.
But and then I hate to do it, but
Nah, I don't want to hear it, dog. Oh
the
man,
last one,
hater.
I think I got to. I feel like the Steelers, man, just
Under 7. Think about this. So you're
oh
saying we're
no,
going to have 6. We're going to have
I'm
6
saying
wins.
under 8.5. So 8-9 season, first losing season, but like not a terrible season. But I think 8-9 is possible, just because the way that your season ends is just so tough. Like the
Okay, so let me
Bears
ask you this:
play.
even with, because obviously it's just an opinion. It doesn't,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
but with the QB
It's
play,
all for
because
content, anyways.
it's all for content. It's all for the clicks, whatever.
Yeah.
But even for people that feel this way, because they've talked about this, and people who have been Steeler haters or even really not been big on us have even come to our defense and saying, even with how
Yeah.
I felt, how can you believe that even if Russ starts the whole season, Russ is not worse than Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, or Mitch Trubisky. And if Justin starts, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, that's going to be what the team really needs is for him to start. But even if it's Russ, okay, the QB room has been revamped. Our offensive line completely has been revamped, and 2 rookies that are gonna be starting. But center is always a great spot for a rookie to start. They say that's probably the easiest spot on the line. Our defense, we got leaders in Joey Porter Jr., Cam Hayward, Mika Fitzpatrick, T.J. Watt. I just, what I mean, like, I'm not saying here in this year we're gonna go 13 wins, win 2 playoff games. That would be great. I think Tomlin needs to hurry up and get this playoff win, but there's just no way in my mind where 6, 7, 8, or 9 wins make sense at all. It just doesn't happen. And I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be a homer here. I'm just
No, no,
looking at the
no, no.
dynamics. I mean, of the team.
Yeah.
And it's just like, unless it's a complete collapse and like we got a lot of injuries and whatever, and we're ended up, going out there with Brandon Allen or something like that. It's just, in the beginning of the schedule, it's just very favorable to the point where
Yeah.
we already have that many wins by the bye, because our bye is, like you were saying, you wish your bye was a little bit later. Our bye
Yeah,
is week
yours is week
9.
9. Yeah.
So, by that time, we could already have 7 wins. And there's no way we're not going to win at least 1 or 2 more at the end. So, yeah,
Yeah.
but, I'm going to let you
Yeah,
talk,
no,
man. I just had to get that off my chest before you said anything.
I got you. I understand. I just feel like, you've said like the Bears, you don't play a division opponent until week 11, but the NFC North versus the AFC North is a totally different battle. Like
Yeah.
the AFC North is like by far, in my opinion, the best division in the league. And it's just like those games are tougher, they're colder. I feel like more injuries are prone to happen. So like
Yeah.
I just feel like you play the Ravens week 11 on a Sunday, but then you go to the Browns that next Thursday on a short week. Then you're
Mm-hmm.
at the Bengals right after that. Back to the Browns next Sunday. Then you play my Eagles. Back to the Ravens on a Saturday. Then 4 days later you play the Chiefs. Like that's just that alone is absurd. Playing the Eagles, then 6 days later playing the Ravens, then 4 days later playing the Chiefs should be illegal. Like
That's exactly what people were talking about.
you and I talk about player safety all the time. They don't really give a fuck about player safety, but that right there is like
Shows it.
criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those 3 stretch of games is exactly. I completely forgot to
Yeah.
mention that. The
Yeah.
gauntlet itself, like you just said, is terrible. But those 3 stretches is just injury prone city basically, and just really
Yeah.
hoping for both teams involved that that's not happening. But for us, that's going to be really,
Yeah.
really tough. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand why the NFL is so obsessed with Christmas all of a sudden. They're trying to like punk the NBA and take Christmas from them. But like
Everybody knows that we
playing
watch
football on
Sweet.
a Wednesday when you have games on Sundays is just it's irresponsible. Like
Yeah.
if Christmas falls on a Saturday or Sunday, okay, play it then. But Christmas games on a Wednesday just to have a Christmas game just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to
And you
me.
know
I don't
why?
care.
It's for the
Yeah.
bag. It's for the
Yeah.
bag.
You got the Netflix money, whatever.
Yeah.
But from so like week 15 on, that's that stretch. So week 15, 16, 17 is Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, and then to end the season, you got the Bengals. And I just feel like because in 2023 and 2022, I think let me pull it up. I had it. Yeah, 2023, the last 3 games of the year, you guys won, and then 2022, the last 4 games of the year, you guys won to get those, winning records, make the playoffs, that type of situation. I feel like you can't. I don't know if it's going to be possible really with that stretch this year. So I think if you guys aren't, like you said, you could easily have 7 wins by the bye, and this is all moot anyways. But if you're not there, then come week 15 on, I think that's going to be really tough to get to 9. So I
To your
think
point,
8 or 9 will be in play, but I think you guys get right at 8 and 9. I think is where you guys end up. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, what you were saying is true because last year when we played Bengals, Ravens, Browns, we faced Jake Browning, Tyler Huntley,
Yeah,
and Dorian Thompson Robinson. So
yeah,
that was also very favorable too. And we were able to sweep the Ravens because of that as well. But I will say this year, like I said, I hope both teams stay healthy regardless. But Joe Burrow hasn't been healthy 3 straight seasons where he's gotten injured. So that's obviously like
yeah,
we have to make sure the other side is still. That's what I always think about too. Is later in the season what it is. But I will also say with the Chiefs because that's week 17, I believe. Even Nick Wright, was saying that possibly they already have the AFC locked up to the point where they don't even play Travis and Pat and maybe Xavier Worthy. They don't even play, and then we sneak them
yeah,
in because that's obviously later in
yeah,
the season, and Andy Reid is very smart about that. And if they're going to have home field advantage already number one, that could be a game where it's kind of like a give me, and then on top of that, so it's also about luck at the end. But I can understand your thought process behind that. But I'll be very I'll be gloating a lot during that time when it's not that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, shit. Even last year, on Christmas Day, the Chiefs lost to the Raiders, and everyone was like basically done with them. So yeah,
Right,
there's it's not out the question that they lose to you guys on Christmas this year, and people are like, oh, what happened to the Chiefs? So it's like, nah, maybe
right,
the Steelers are just good and beat
yeah,
them. Um, but yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'm not obviously not rooting for the downfall of the Steelers or anything, but
right,
I just think the way the schedule played out really did not help you guys out. And it was
yeah,
already the toughest of the entire NFL,
yeah. With the
just
way
based
the
on who the
schedule,
opponents were, but the way they
right,
played it out made it
yeah.
harder. So
I will say
yeah,
to the last point because I figured when I first saw it when it just said home opponents, away
right,
opponents, and I figured they would try to mix it up. So I was like, okay, that could be it could be good or bad, but it's always good to have a mix. Maybe like some of the good teams or the first 3, and then you hit some of the medium whatever teams, the next 3, whatever. But then I thought about, all right, what if this gauntlet of teams that I see is first? Then I'm like, okay, well, the start of the season, everybody is not who they are week 12. So it's like, okay, we're not where we're going to be the first, 5, 6 weeks, and we got to play these teams. Okay. But I kind of like that it ended up being we get kind of a break to start because you're not going to be who you're going to be going into the playoffs or, those weeks before it. And so and we're always kind of a team that starts out kind of slow, which I hope starts to change because I'm getting sick of that as well too. But
yeah,
I'm hoping that because we kind of have the easier teams first. We face 2 rookies, we face a quarterback and Anthony Richardson who didn't really get to play his full rookie season. We go to Denver, a team that's going to have another rookie that's going to. So we're in a position to have a great start. It's just you can't have these games where we're playing to the level of the competition. Like for some reason, the Raiders is a great example. That's another team. We're going to have a Aiden O'Connell, whoever it is, going to be a quarterback who doesn't have a lot of experience. Um, we always play the Raiders close for some reason, and for the
hmm
past I want to say almost decade, at least last 7, 8 years, we've had a better team than them, and there's no reason why we haven't. So we got to start blowing out teams. How these high caliber teams do: the Bills, y'all, the Chiefs, the Ravens. When they have a lesser opponent, it's a wrap by the halftime, basically, or the team is not coming back. And that's another thing that's a problem with us too, is we're not a team, or at least we haven't been a team that has been built to come from behind. If we're behind 2 touchdowns, it's what it is. It's like in Madden. It's a wrap. I'm not worried about you coming
Yeah.
back. That's how it's been. So I would like for us to play, to be ahead and then work on maybe, being a team that can be able to come back. But I'm more worried about, let's have a fast start to the season, and let's have these fast starts in these games where we're up 17, whatever, late, and these other teams are trying to play catch up, and it's just too late. So we'll see what ends up
Yeah.
happening. I'm excited to see how camp plays out, but hopefully that they can get it done in the beginning of the season, because that's going to be really crucial.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. Yeah, that's all I got with all right. We don't have to. We'll probably talk more and get more in depth. And we may have some different opinions, but as of right now, I'm just gonna run through who I think will win the division, and then I'll hand it to you, and you can talk about your bets. If y'all out there y'all listening want to put some bets in, Brock is the guy.
Don't hate
But
me, man.
yeah,
Don't do that.
so I have the AFC East going to the Jets, the AFC North going to the Ravens, the AFC South going to the Texans, and the AFC West going to the Chiefs. Then I have the NFC North for the Packers, the NFC East for the Eagles, the NFC South for the Falcons, and then the NFC West to the Rams.
Hey
That is
man,
my
let's
that
speak
is
that
my
into existence. That sounds real. For the people who are Niners fans, I don't know, Anthony, if you're watching, we love that right there. We love that.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, and I think I'll get a couple of those right. We'll see, but
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah,
how I'm
yeah.
feeling after the official schedule release. We'll see if I switch it up as the season gets closer. But
Okay.
yeah, what you
Yeah.
what you got?
A lot of those are going to be the same for me. For the AFC East, I'm thinking. I think the Bills have taken it the last 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. Is it 3 or 4 years? The last 3 or 4 years,
Yeah,
it's been
yeah, I
the
think so.
something like that. And so, with that being said, I don't think it's going to be them. I just don't think they have the offensive power. They just signed MVS. Okay. Not that's great. I think his primary targets, Josh's primary targets, are going to be Dalton Kincaid and Keon Coleman. But I just don't feel like they have enough offensively, and their defense has kind of changed a little bit too. So with that being said, I think the only process of elimination is going to be either the Dolphins or the Jets. The Patriots have a rookie QB. They're rebuilding. They're not going to be very good. So it's going to be between them. Miami has not played very good down the stretch, particularly in cold weather. I think I saw a stat either yesterday or the day before that they have not won a game that has been colder than 45 degrees, which is insane. That's insane to me that
Yeah,
someone
that's
actually
wild.
found that out, and that's actually a thing. But obviously, at the end of the year, they're playing these teams that are in New York or just on the East Coast in general, and it's cold.
Yep.
So you can't December and January. You can't slide past that. So I'm going to agree with you on that one. I'd have either one of those, but I'd have the Jets in that case because they have Aaron Rodgers, hopefully healthy, and him being the veteran that he is, being the Super Bowl champion that he previously was. That's going to help them a lot. So I have the Jets, like you. AFC North. I'm going to be realistic and just go with the Ravens because the Ravens have a tougher schedule too, but they just have a lot more figured out. They have their QB figured out. The offense is not um, extremely new, like at first year, how ours is, and so even though I don't think they're getting wide receiver right time and time again, I think I really like Zay Flowers, but the rest of their wide receivers are just very average guys. But I'm gonna go with the Ravens there and have us coming in second place to them. The AFC South, I'm going with CJ in the Texans. I think this is going to be their division to run for a little bit here until everybody kind of figures out what they're doing. So I got them. AFC West, I got Patty Mahomes, of course. And then NFC East, I have y'all winning that. NFC North, I was thinking kind of what you were saying. I have between the Lions and the Packers. I don't think the Vikings are going to be contending there at all whatsoever. And I think as we talked about with the Bears, rookie QB, new young team, they're going to probably be in that third spot. But man, I really like the Lions team. Really like just the draft picks that they've had. Obviously, love the head coach. Everybody loves the head coach. And then just what their GM has been doing, everything. So I really like the front office. I like everything as a whole for them. They got two corners in the draft, which I thought was their weakest spot in their defense. A lot of people thought that they needed to get an edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, which I do agree with, but I really just felt like they didn't have corners, and they got Terry Arnold and it's Rakestraw, and I think that's just going to really help them out. So I actually have the Lions taking the NFC North over the Packers, and then for the NFC South, man, I'm gonna go with the Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers. They're a little bit more established right now than the Falcons. I think Baker's going to have another year, not outstanding or anything, probably better than what he did last year because he does have a new offensive coordinator, as you talked about. But I just think that team is a little bit more established. So I'm going to go with the Bucks for the NFC South. And as much as I would love to agree with you with the NFC West, with the Rams, they just can't seem to beat the Niners consistently, man. It's like, you see the Niners run LA. And if I was even though we're both from there, if I was a Rams fan, I would be very heated with that situation because it just hasn't gone their way. Obviously, they have the most recent Super Bowl, but I'm going to go with the Niners there, man. They have too much of those Avengers still left over. We'll see if that ends up being the case for week one, if they trade anybody, but they just have the better roster right now. Love both head coaches, obviously, but for right now, they have the edge over the Rams for me. So I'm going to go Niners.
Yeah, the Rams are one in their last 10 games versus the 49ers. They only won one, and that was week 18 when Carson Wentz beat Sam Darnold. So it has not been good for the Rams with the 49ers in their last 10 games there. But yeah, no, I think as the offseason goes along, and we see, how camp was going with teams and stuff, I'm sure these picks are gonna probably switch up for me a lot more than you. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. And at some point we'll put our official picks in, get a gentleman's bet of some sort going. And,
no, definitely, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, let's hop into grind our gears and wrap this thing up if you're ready.
Yep, let's do it.
But all right. I'm gonna start off because mine isn't anything crazy. It's just, with the schedule coming out, my grind my gears segment is just the way that we've, as a football watching community, for the most part, there's a few of us who like the way strength schedule is done with like a Warren Sharp, or some people rank it based on like Super Bowl odds. I feel like anything is better than what people do, which is the win percentage of last year. That's the way the NFL posts their strength of schedule. That's how like people who just don't know anything post strength schedule. It's like, oh yeah, this is the win percentage of all the teams they faced last year, like based on their record last year. It's like that's not the same team. That has nothing to do with this year. Like if you're basing it off of the Jets last year when they lost their quarterback 4 plays in, that's not the team you're facing this year. So like you can't use anything as simple as a win-loss record based on last year to determine strength of schedule this year. So anything I see out there that isn't that, I'm always like, oh, that seems interesting. So like I like the way Warren Sharp does it, and some other people, I forget his name. He's an Eagles guy on Twitter. I saw he just had it ranked based on Super Bowl odds. Like the team that has the 9th best Super Bowl odds is the Cowboys. So it's like, if the Eagles play them twice, but besides that, they don't play anyone else in the top 10 in Super Bowl odds. So like obviously that's a good schedule, like an
Right.
easier schedule versus y'all. You play probably at the end of the season, especially like your last 10 games are teams against in like the top 10 in Super Bowl odds. So so just that's all I got really. Just my grind my gear segment is just I don't like the way there's a thing in I think it's in psychology or philosophy where it's called status quo bias, where like people just accept that things are the way they are because it's the status quo. It's like we don't have to just say like that's the way we do strength and schedule. Like we can we can do better.
Figure
Like
out a
let's
better
let's
way.
think a
Yeah.
little harder. Let's figure something better out instead of just
No,
being like, oh yeah,
agreed.
record from last year. That's the strength and schedule. No, it's not.
Yeah.
So
Kind of just
yes,
lazy thinking.
yes. What you got?
Mine is a little bit more controversial, but it's just something that I've been thinking about for a little bit. And I'm just like, why is this the way it is? And why is it just like supposed to be this? Kind of like what you just said, where it's just like it's the status quo and why is it this? So mine is the resetting of the market when it comes to positions and certain players benefiting from that, even though they might not um, deserve that. And what I mean is, for example, the QB position right now, obviously, Jared Goff just got his new extension to through
Yeah,
2028, but
yeah,
Joe Burrow is still the highest paid quarterback, and it's 55 million, I believe. Even with his three straight season being injured that we talked about, I believe he is very deserving of that contract. He's been talked about as the second best quarterback in the league until that point, over Josh Allen, and Josh Allen has gotten back into that spot because of his injuries, but he deserves it. Now it could start getting reset again because Dak has to get paid, and they're saying that Dak is probably going to be the first quarterback to get paid 60 million. Or, it's going to be more than Jill's, but it's probably going to be 60 million range. And okay, and I feel like even with people's opinions of Dak and he's not going to get any better and whatever, he's still done since he was a rookie. For the Dallas Cowboys, what he's done currently, like he's a winner. He's a proven winner. For the most part, he's available. So and he has his interceptions, but he plays to a consistent basis. So I'm gonna say whenever he does get that contract, he deserves it. But where I have a problem is, okay, Tua is set to get paid. Trevor Lawrence is set to get paid. I think we can all agree that Tua does not deserve to get paid no 65 million, no 62 million.
all right.
He doesn't deserve it. But it's like people are talking about, well, he's going to get paid more than Joe Burrow, and he might get paid more than Dak. But does he deserve that just because the market got reset? Like I feel like it's fine for these markets to get reset because guys are playing better. As we get older, people's genetics are getting better. All that stuff makes sense. I understand all that, but he could still get paid under that. So if the market gets reset and let's say Dak gets paid the 60 million, why can't he get paid 52, 53?
Yeah,
That would be deserved. He deserves that, but I don't think he deserves to get paid better than the top three quarterback. Joe
yeah.
Burrow, in my opinion, is the third best quarterback in the league. He's not better than him. He's not better than Dak, but he probably will get paid that. And so I feel like, and I'm not just picking on the quarterbacks. I feel like even with the wide receiver market too, just because that next guy is set up to get paid, does that mean they deserve to get paid more than the guy who actually deserved it, who actually is the reason why it got reset because they were that good? If you're talking about a guy that is resetting the market there, that's a household name, as they say in the league. These other dudes, I don't know, and I'm not trying to hate on anybody or anything like that, but I just feel like I don't really agree with that. And so that kind of needs to get switched up because I can't believe I'm siding with them, but that kind of helps the team out in a way because obviously, we're always for player first. They're putting their bodies on the
Right.
line, and
Get
I
your
understand
checks,
that.
get your money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously, we're former players, so that's why I'm saying what I'm saying is, I'm always for the players when it comes to safety, the money, and all those things. But I just also believe, for teams that are trying to win Super Bowls and trying to stay in that contention, if you have a guy that's just like kind of like middle of the road, he's okay. Why is he going to get paid 65 million over the like 6, 7 quarterbacks that are definitely not even you think are definitely better than him. And so I'm not trying to pour it on Tua, but from he's done what he's done. And so that's just my segment is just can we figure out a way where, okay, these certain athletes are going to reset the market, but that next person that is supposed to get paid, that doesn't mean they have to get more than that. So that's just my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of like teams are so afraid to lose their somewhat good
Of
quarterback that they're
course.
just gonna like do what they
Yeah.
have to do. But it's like you don't have to. Like you can just say like this is we're not gonna pay you more than this. You can go if you want. Like good luck,
Right.
you know.
And I think
But
it's what you
I
just
don't
said.
know if the Dolphins are. Yeah,
Yeah, it's what you just said. It's the fear, especially with the QB position, because as we just saw with this wide receiver class, there could be a class where there's like 21 dudes where you're like, all right, 12 of these dudes are going to be wide receiver ones. We're good. But you're not going to get quarterback right all the time. And we know that. The teams know that.
yeah,
So I understand the process behind it. But like you said, okay, they, in a sense, too, are gambling on themselves, the quarterback, because are you going to be able to go to another team and be, one, paid the way you want to be paid, but also, two, is the system going to fit you? Are the skill players going to fit you the way they fit you perfectly in the current system that you're in? Because to Tua's point, I think he benefits quite a bit from having Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and just having Mike as his head coach in general, just how he's scheming things for him, knowing the type of player that he is. Are you going to get that in another team with the bag too? I don't know. So I think teams kind of got to play with that and be like, if we fit you perfectly, you know, this is what we're offering you, and then maybe you can get that down the road or in incentives, however it works. I don't claim to know all the numbers on that, but I just don't feel like it's just like, all right, well, 80 million. That's a new market. Well, all right, then we got to pay him 84 for what? It's not
right,
for his pay. So I mean, for his play. So why is that happening? So
yeah.
that's just my thing on that.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I think, yeah, that'll be interesting to see because I just saw recently, Tua hasn't been in any voluntary off-season stuff. So it's like, is
So
he,
it's coming. Yeah.
yeah, is he really going to hold out and get this money? I guess he
Right.
is
Yeah.
because it
Especially if
doesn't
Dak gets
seem,
paid.
yeah.
It's kind of happening. And I heard I want to say it was Dan Orlovsky say that the Cowboys kind of messed up in waiting
Oh,
to
yeah,
pay
yeah,
that. They
100%.
definitely,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then now it's like now they're kind of screwing the other people,
yeah.
because if that gets paid soon, then it's like, yeah, then Tua really is gonna get that bag. And it's like, if he starts that noodle arm mess again, it's just like, oh, here
Yeah,
we go
Dak.
type of thing.
Yeah, I think it was Dak has like over these past 5 years or whatever, he's had like 151 million dollar cap hit to the Cowboys, and it's just hurt them. They still have to pay Micah, they still have to pay CD. So, if they pay Dak first and not Mike and CD, like if I was CD Lamb, I'd be so mad. Like, what are we doing? Like,
Right.
I've done everything you asked for and then some. I'm one of the best receivers in the league, and you keep paying Dak instead of me. Like, why is that? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
all the more reason my Cowboys under is a lock. Get the bets in now.
Right. Right.
But yeah, nah, I hear you. Um, but yeah, I think that's all we got this week. Unless you got more, or
No,
we good?
that's it for me.
Yeah, let's yeah. If you guys are liking what we're talking about, we'll be back next week here on the Steelbirds podcast. Follow us on socials at Steelbirds Podcast on Instagram. Follow me and Brock on Instagram and Twitter at It's Your Boy CK at Brock_IV. And yeah, stay tuned. We got more stuff coming. So
Yes, sir.
stay
Catch y'all next
posted.
time.
Yes. Peace.